Hey guys, today we are going to talk about German expansion pre-World War II. After World War I, Germany suffered the most out of the losing nations, which were the Central Powers against the Allied powers. France and Britain discussed and agreed to have punishments under the Treaty of Versailles that Germany needed to endure. Under the Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to pay a large amount of money, which were reparations, to France and Britain. They could not have a big military, and they had to accept responsibility that they were the ones who had started the war. After joining the Nazi Party, Hitler tried to overthrow the government in a coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch in 1923. This failed, and Hitler was sent to jail, where he wrote his infamous Mein Kampf, which outlined Nazi ideology as well as his plans to make Germany great again. From 1924 to 1928, the Nazi Party did not have much support as Germany was recovering from its economic problems. We also see the Dawes Plan and the Locarno Treaty as relief to the harsh terms imposed by the Treaty of Versailles. The Dawes Plan of 1924 proposed an end to Allied occupation in the Ruhr, which had contributed to hyperinflation in Germany. This plan also provided a swayed payment plan for Germany's payment on war reparations. During this time, Germany also relied heavily on U.S. loans to repay the damages for World War I. When the Great Depression hit in 1929, Germany stopped receiving aid and the economic problems were back. The Great Depression was triggered by a collapse in U.S. share prices in 1929 after a decade-long economic boom. This led to years of economic downturn in developed nations as businesses closed or cut back on a number of workers. Unemployment was the most noticeable effect of the Depression. In Germany itself, it put 6 million people out of work. The Brüning government failed to respond effectively, passing tax increases and cutbacks rather than spending. To many Germans, this was final proof that democracy could not solve Germany's problems. Public dissatisfaction with the economic conditions in the government led to a dramatic increase in voter support for Hitler and the NSDAP, which eventually became the largest party in the Reichstag. He denounced both socialists and communists and used anti-Semitism to appeal to all social classes. On January 30th, 1933, President Hindenburg declared Hitler as chancellor in order to control him and his party. On February 27, 1933, a Dutch communist set the Reichstag building on fire. Hitler used this attack as a way to label all communists as the enemy of Germany. Hitler then pressured President Hindenburg to issue the Reichstag Fire Decree, which abolished many civil liberties, including the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech, to counter the ruthless confrontations from the Communist Party. This led to the Enabling Act, which meant that laws did not need to be passed based on the Weimar Constitution or with the approval of the Reichstag. The Enabling Act granted Hitler with the power to make his own laws. Hitler would then establish the secret police, the Gestapo, as a way to ensure his position. He abolished all other political parties and outlawed trade unions as they were seen as acts of communism and posed a threat to Hitler's maintenance of power. The SS and the Gestapo would then eliminate all enemies opposing Hitler and his party. Through the death of President Hindenburg, Hitler would declare himself as the leader of a single-party state. During his rule, Hitler persecuted Jews, starting with discrimination and then sending them to concentration camps to their destined deaths. Hitler's Nazi government was responsible for the murder of 6 million Jews. Germany truly starts their aggressive behavior in 1936 when they reoccupy the Rhineland, something that was directly prohibited in the Treaty of Versailles. France and Britain were obviously not happy about this, but not wanting to start another world war, they held back, sticking to the policy of appeasement, which meant giving in to aggression. This would give Germany the ability to continue with their expansion and rise to global power, as well as the move to World War II. In 1938, Germany again defies the Treaty of Versailles when they unite with Austria. This was possible due to a coup d'état set up by Nazis to overthrow the Austrian government in March of the same year. With the existence of popular support for the Nazis in Austria, the unification of Germany and Austria was made possible. This unification was known as Anschluss, or annexation. Later that year, in September, interest from Germany to bring in German-speaking areas in Czechoslovakia under their control is clear. These regions are known as Sudetenland. Again, the Allies, not wanting to make any aggressive moves, decide to give Hitler what he wants. And on September 30th, 1938, Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, French Premier Edward Daladier, and British Prime Minister Chamberlain signed the Munich Agreement, giving the Sudetenland over to Germany. This had a great impact on Czechoslovakia, as this region consisted of 66% of Czechoslovakia's coal, 70% of its iron and steel, and 70% of its electrical power. Hitler did not stop at this. He began to make his way to take over all of the Czech Republic. In March of 1939, the regions of Bohemia and Moravia in Czechoslovakia were made protectorates of Germany, as German troops occupied those regions. On May 22nd, Germany and Italy signed the Pact of Steel, which was a political and military alliance, which was a huge surprise to the whole world. On September 1939, World War II was on the brink as Germany invaded Poland. This triggered France to declare war on Germany, and then Britain would follow up, being the second to declare war.